If God came to you and said, I'm going to give you this beautiful daughter, but you'll only have her for 18 years.
The call comes in at midday on a Monday. The operator's voice is measured, trained for exactly this. But the voice on the other end is something else entirely. Flat, almost rehearsed, as if the words have been sitting in the throat all weekend, waiting for the moment to finally be spoken. I had a psychotic break, the caller says, and killed my wife. 2 days. For 2 full days, Ewan Methvin has been living with what he did. He drove through East Kilbride in her red Vauxhall Corsa. He scrolled through her phone. He spent more than 10 hours accessing pornographic websites. 170 sessions in a single afternoon. While Phoenix Spencer-Horne lay in the hallway of the flat they shared, hidden under a towel, decapitated. She was 21 years old. Her colleagues at the Straven Hotel described her as someone who brought warmth with her every time she walked through the door. Customers noticed. Co-workers noticed. Grace McCabe, a Miss Scotland 2024 finalist, would say Phoenix consistently reached out and supported her through the hardest time she had ever faced. Her name, people said, perfectly matched her spirit. A woman who rose above everything. A woman who lifted others while she was still rising herself. On the morning of Saturday, November 16, 2024, Phoenix and Ewan both leave for work. Separate routes, separate routines. The kind of ordinary Saturday morning that only becomes significant in retrospect, once investigators have had reason to examine every hour, every movement, every message sent and received. She arrives at the Straven Hotel in good spirits. Her smile is in place. She moves through the shift the way she always does. Warm, reliable, entirely herself. Ewan finishes his Royal Mail postal route and heads home. Before leaving, he tells a colleague he's going home to chill. Perfectly ordinary sentence. The kind said 1,000 times a day in every city, by thousands of people with nowhere particular to be. It would only acquire its chill later. Sometime that afternoon, while Phoenix is still at the hotel serving customers, a text message arrives on her phone. It is not the first time Ewan has raised this particular complaint. He tells her that her waitressing shifts make him feel lonely, that the hours without her are difficult, that he needs her home. Phoenix replies with an apology. That detail is worth sitting with. Phoenix, who has spent her adult life helping others through their darkest moments, who friends describe as a lifeline in the hardest of times, apologizes to the man who resents her for working. The pattern has become well established by November 2024. His grievance, her guilt, her concession, his quiet satisfaction. A cycle so normalized that neither of them probably recognizes it anymore for what it is. She doesn't know she's being conditioned. She believes she's being a good partner. Around 8 p.m., Ewan orders takeaway food for the two of them. When the delivery driver arrives at the flat on Glenley, he looks Ewan in the eye and registers nothing unusual. Not agitated, not impaired, just a man waiting at the door for his food. That unremarkable transaction would later prove critical when Ewan attempts to claim that drugs and alcohol destroyed his memory, that some chemical fog descended over him and lifted only to reveal a horror he cannot explain. The delivery driver remembers him clearly, completely normal. At 9:37 p.m., Phoenix sends her mother Allison a text message. She and Ewan are home. They're eating dinner together. Everything is fine. It is the last message Phoenix Spencer-Horne will ever send. The neighbors downstairs hear it begin around midnight. They are accustomed to the sounds from the flat above. Footsteps, conversation, the ordinary rhythms of a young couple living their lives. But what arrives after midnight on November 16th is different. A loud noise, hurried movement, an urgency that they struggle at first to name. They are hearing Phoenix fight for her life. Ewan uses 3 knives. He stabs her 20 times. 10 of those wounds are concentrated on her face. A detail that speaks not to frenzy, but to something more deliberate, more personal, something that investigators will turn over in their minds long after the case is closed. The fatal blow is a deep stab to the chest that reaches her vital organs. When the stabbing is done, he strangles her, his hands around her throat as she struggles beneath him. Pathologists would later determine that the violence moves through multiple rooms. The bathroom, the hallway, possibly the bedroom, where a bloodied knife is also found. Phoenix may have tried to run. The evidence suggests she did not stop fighting. But the flat is small, and the man between her and the exit has already made a decision she never saw coming. The activity tracker on Ewan's phone records a spike in movement during this window of time. A quiet digital record of what the walls already know. After Phoenix is dead, Ewan decapitates her body, using the same knives. He then attempts to go further, to remove her limbs, her wrist, her ankle, to reduce her to something that might be made to disappear. When that effort fails, he moves what remains of her to the hallway and covers her with a towel. By 2:40 a.m., he is messaging drug dealers. He spends Sunday, November 17th, accessing pornographic websites between 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. 10 hours. Phoenix is yards away. What lies under that towel in the hallway is the woman her family welcomed him into love, the woman he had spent 2 years being trusted with completely. He browses and refreshes for 10 hours. It isn't until Allison Spencer begins trying to reach her daughter Sunday morning that the true depth of Ewan's calculation becomes visible. Allison and Phoenix exchanged messages regularly. A small, constant thread of connection between a mother and daughter navigating independent lives. When Phoenix doesn't respond, Allison texts again. The reply comes quickly, in Phoenix's voice, casual and warm. In the UK, a small X at the end of a text signals affection. A tiny kiss, a gesture of closeness. Phoenix always sent them to her mother. Hey, Fee isn't up yet. I'll get her to text you when she is. Later. Hey, sorry I've just woken up. XXX. Allison has no reason to doubt a single word. The tone is right. The language is familiar. She has been receiving messages like these from her daughter for years. What she doesn't know is that the person holding Phoenix's phone, typing Phoenix's words, mimicking Phoenix's warmth and reflecting it back to her mother, is the man who killed her. Ewan Methvin spends the weekend driving Phoenix's car around East Kilbride, maintaining the fiction of a relationship that ended at midnight in a hallway, sending X's to a grieving mother who doesn't yet know she is grieving. By Monday, the fiction develops a crack. Phoenix was scheduled to work. She was known for reliability, for showing up, for being exactly the person her colleagues expected. When she doesn't appear and cannot be reached, they know immediately that something is wrong. The story Ewan has constructed, sleeping in, recovering, everything normal, does not survive contact with the people who actually knew Phoenix's character. At midday on November 18th, Ewan dials 999. He says he had a psychotic break. He says he had been taking steroids and cocaine, possibly spiked. He describes what happened as fucking horrible, positioning himself as witness rather than perpetrator. He says he'd been trying to muster the courage to call all weekend. When transferred to a senior officer, he says, "I just want to go to jail." He says he isn't violent. He says he can't remember. When police arrive at the flat on Glenley, they find Phoenix Spencer-Horne hidden under a towel in the hallway of her own home. 2 blood-stained knives lie beside her. A third is in the bedroom. Blood has reached multiple rooms, the violence mapped across the floor plan of the life they had shared. Officers who had attended violent scenes for years would later describe being entirely unprepared for what they found. Ewan Methvin is calm when they arrest him. Not the stillness of shock, the composure of a man who has had 2 days to process the consequences. "I could not stay here with her like that," he tells them. "I tried to dismember her. I moved her from the bath and put her there." These are not the words of someone who lost control. They are the words of someone explaining decisions. The investigation dismantles every piece of his narrative. The delivery driver's testimony destroys the impairment claim entirely. The activity tracker on Ewan's phone places him in violent motion at midnight, matching the neighbor's account exactly. The drug messages, the browsing history, the meticulous 2-day impersonation of Phoenix using her own phone, each act deliberate, each one chosen in the full clarity of consciousness. Ewan Methvin has no criminal history. Every person who encountered him described the same polite, considerate young man. The distance between that person and what the forensic record reveals is one of the most disturbing aspects of the entire case. because it suggests the man Phoenix's family welcomed into their home was not a mask that slipped under pressure. It was a long, patient construction. On July 14, 2025, Judge Lord Matthews sentences him to life imprisonment with a minimum of 23 years. A letter Ewan had written is placed before the court. A letter in which he claims to understand how loved Phoenix was, how she made her family complete, how he cannot believe he took her from them. The judge observes plainly that the letter answers none of the questions that must be plaguing the family. It answers nothing. Still doesn't. Allison Spencer, who received those messages all weekend, who read those X's and believed her daughter was sleeping in on a quiet Sunday morning, must carry the specific weight of that knowledge for the rest of her life. Ewan used Phoenix's warmth, her language, her habit of small affection, as a weapon aimed directly at the woman who loved her most. That cruelty has no minimum term. But Phoenix's family did not retreat into silence. They raised money in her name and donated it to women's aid services across Scotland. Women's Aid Glasgow responded that her name, Phoenix, now stands for more than loss. It stands for action, for change, for refusing to let her story end in silence. Phoenix Spencer-Horne was 21 years old. She lifted people through their darkest times. She showed up for every shift. She sent her mother X's. She apologized to a man who wanted to own her. And she fought for her life in a hallway while the people downstairs heard sounds they couldn't name until it was too late. Ewan Methvin could walk free when he is 50. For Phoenix's family, there is no review date, no eligible threshold, no minimum term on what they carry. But her name rises, carefully, deliberately, in exactly the spirit she moved through the world. It rises because the people who loved her made sure it would. If you carry her name with you after watching this, if you think the women behind these cases deserve more than case numbers and closed files, then you understand why these stories need to be told and why we keep telling them.